Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm Jeff. I'm a wizard, and I would like to share some thoughts I had about need. Okay, I just had a really rough year, let's say, but a really rough couple of weeks, and I went really, really low again. For the same reason I always have. But I want to talk about not really my situation, but the psychological logic of the need, because that's a vicious cycle I keep finding myself in. Now I've been living my life, or have following the logic of the law of attraction, which is basically you get what you put out, as energy, to put in a very short, oversimplified manner. But I think one of these examples where most people can find themselves in is that when you really are, let's say, you really are needy and looking for a partner, or for sex, or you really want to attract somebody, when you're like sort of in this desperate state, it's like you have a repulsion to people. It's it's like it's like you people really don't like you, and the opposite happens when when you're not looking for it, when you just don't even care, when you really could care less about finding somebody, about sex. It's you seem to attract a lot of this. Okay, this contradictory thing happens, and the logic then is, well, in the second scenario, you're in a happy-go-lucky state, you're flowing, and you don't have any resistance to it, so you attract these things naturally. You attract high vibrating things. And in the first example, you're actually in a desperate state, so you are in the energy of not having it, and being unhappy about it, so you attract that. That's a bit of the logic, or an example, I think. And I really, really, really get annoyed when I hear people talking about the law of attraction or manifesting things and give you the same riddle over and over again. Well, I'm gonna save you some time, okay? So if you want the real law of attraction, positive thinking, magic, you go listen to Abraham-Hicks. Abraham-Hicks is basically it's Esther and Jerry Hicks. They're a couple, and they once went to a person, I forget her name, I will put it in the description box. She wrote a book called Seth Speaks, where this is a lady, an American a woman, who is basically channeling a voice she hears in her head. And first she writes a book, and then she basically sits down and lets the voice write a book. And the name is Seth, and you can find these audiobooks on YouTube. It's really interesting. And Seth basically explains to you how everything works, the entire universe. What happens when we dream, what happens in the afterlife, how reincarnation works, what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, how it all works. And she sort of channeled this voice. Now, channeling is where you sort of let this energy or entity speak through you, and you just sort of babble on without thinking. And in that process, you end up saying things that you would not think of yourself. So we all do this. We all go into this flow mode where we are just in a state of things where we're not thinking, and we unintentionally, it happens sort of serendipitously often. Anyways, but that's another thing. So Abraham-Hicks, then we have Esther Hicks, and she also started doing this, and she started channeling. Well, I mean, I'm using air brackets because I don't want to put too much emphasis on these words, because it's all it all sounds magic and woo-woo until you say it in a different way, and then it sounds very logical and actually interesting. So I'm trying not to put emphasis on these not so broadly known terms. Anyway, then you have Esther Hicks, who then speaks on stage, and she channels a voice called Abraham, which is not a single thing. It is a collective. It is an energy, and just go listen to that on YouTube. You can find the early clips where she's speaking live, and you don't have to think about whether it's real, whether she's channeling a message. Just listen to the logic she's using and the reasoning she's using, and you will find that it can help you. And basically, but the secret is based on Abraham-Hicks. And maybe a lot of you will have heard of it. It became a movie and then a book. It had this little key thing on it, I think, brown. That's a boiled down version of Abraham-Hicks. It's noteworthy to say that Abraham-Hicks kind of pulled back their support from The Secret after a while. They started out backing it up, and they were in the movie, but then the Secret wanted to do something marketing-wise, and they didn't support that. So they pulled the bit of Abraham-Hicks, of Esther Hicks speaking, of the interview, out of the movie The Secret. Which does not mean that they don't support the message, which is that they don't fully support how they want to spread the message, I think. Because you can also find clips about her speaking about that. They're very open and honest about everything, and their logic is very correct. There's no flaws in it. That's why I became attracted to her, because I don't know if she's speaking with an entity through her, but I can never find a flaw in what she's saying. Her logic is always sound. When she's speaking to other people who bring up very serious stuff like genocide and automutilation and other horrible things that people go through, and then they come to this speaker about positive thinking, and it's amazing to see how graciously and how cleverly she will answer them without. I think in all the millions of hours I've listened to it, I've heard her say once, which is amazing. She doesn't stutter. She never falls out of this character. Then it's a very. She just gets it in that mode. There's this logic that she just taps into, and it's always on point. And it's amazing how she never goes into the negativity that people bring her. She will, because her point is not, you have to always think happy thoughts so you can attract good things, which is what a lot of people make of it, which is impossible. You cannot always be happy, and that makes no sense, because that would be saying like your compass can only be on north. Okay, your emotions are your compass, and you have this entire spectrum, and the law of attraction has nothing to do with you feeling sad is attracting bad stuff or anything like that. Negative emotions is not the same as negative vibrations. Let's put it like that. Abraham-Hicks is the example of positive thinking and the go-to. I advise everybody to go listen to it, and you don't have to believe it, you don't have to follow it, but I advise everybody to give it a good, really consider the ideas that are being put out, because you will find that Abraham-Hicks is a message that has been spread throughout the ages of humankind. As long as there's been culture and any form of religion, you will find the same message that Abraham-Hicks is saying right now, and it's been said in the Bible as well. Okay, like the positive thinking is a good thing. Period. It works. Okay, and I do believe that the law of attraction is a logic that works, but you have to. It's a very complex idea if you think about it. But then the big problem that I keep finding myself in is that I see that this law of attraction or this positive thinking really works. It has improved my life in an insane amount, and for me it's never been about the attracting, but mostly about mastering my feelings, because that's where I had the most pain and problems, is where I first of all was locked out of my feelings for a big part, had no way to express them, and I was just in a constant war with myself. So figuring out all kinds of ways to organize my head and organize myself really helped me. And for me, Abraham-Hicks was just a foundation of a framework to thinking that really gave my head an organization. And going through difficult times, I found ways to, believe in something. Believe in something. And I really believed in this Abraham-Hicks thing because, like I said, I was very skeptical. I was very critical. I always ask why, and trust me, I've been suicidal enough to not just believe any just think happy thoughts campaign, but there was just nothing that she said that I could be against. There was no flaws in the logic for me. There was never that I could be that, but no. So, and she listening to it really made me question a lot of structures that were wrong in my head, and it helped me see that. In any case, it helped me see that because you don't have to believe what Abraham-Hicks says, but if you say I don't believe that, you kind of have to see, but what do I believe? And that's very confrontational. So at any case, you have to take it seriously. Is she right? Is she wrong? Is there truth to it? Well, we'll see. And I have found that yes, there is. But then there are a couple of subjects in my life where I keep being let's say I am in a chronic need ever since as long as I can remember. And emotionally, it's very hard to pinpoint what exactly it is. It has to do with a certain type of love that I've just always gone without. And I think I really desire it, but at the same time, I have this built-in defense because it was impossible to count on it. So why put any emotional investment into it? And the same thing for me with money is I've as long as I can remember that there is money, I remember that that it was a problem for me. There was not enough. And I also know as long as I've been working, because I started working when I was young at a bakery, and at summers I did in these cleaning factories and stuff. And one time the zoo, that was fun. So I had no problem working, but then the money I earned then always was like, fine, now you can pay for your own this and that. So there was never enough. And then after that, going through other difficulties, there were other big problems with money, left and right. And I think a big part of me coping with it through childhood was me adapting an attitude of nihilism and fatalism. Like, there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't care about it. Money's not important. It shouldn't matter. And that helped me, because if I started caring about money, then I would have been constantly deeply unhappy. Which I pain to say it is still the same situation I find myself in today. And this feeling of powerlessness, that's the moment, the feeling where I do get trapped in, because it seems like now every time I come to the end of the road, and it seems that I've done all I can, and I can't seem to ever find a situation where I feel like I've earned money and I've earned something, then I'm in the plus on top. You know what I mean? And it's becoming mentally very difficult, because hey, I studied for 7-8 years, I've worked all my life, I've did this and this, and I've been working as a dog, and I've tried all these things, and still I find myself in debt and completely broke, and feeling myself trapped because of it. Now, where this becomes tricky for me is because it's a need. It's not a I want situation. I want to be rich, yeah, that's fun. But this is not the situation that I've found myself in. And actually, most of my life, it's more I found myself in a situation where I'm not safe. It's not safe, and I'm actually in need, okay? Now, let's change the subject to hunger. That's easier. let's say you're in need of food. That's not the same as wanting a dessert or chocolate after your food. That's being hungry. That is, you're starving, you're in need, you're in deficit, you're in a deficit, you're in a negative situation. Now, let's use an animal in the wild and it's starving, okay? It hasn't eaten for a long time, so it's in a deficit, it's weakened. Law of attraction then comes in and says, you have to think positive. You have to actually fake it and act like you're so abundant, you've eaten, you're so enjoying the richness of nature and all there is, and then that way, like if you focus on the good feelings, the real good feelings, because you can't fake being happy about something when you're not. So the trick is to then focus on things where you do actually feel happiness, and then you can attract more happiness. Well, that's where everything gets really dodgy for me, because first of all, let's say you're a lion, you're starving, and then you're a sentient smart lion. So you're listening to Abraham-Hicks and you're like, okay, positive law of attraction. I'm going to focus on how abundant green plants are in this jungle. There are so many green plants around me. I have such an abundance of green plants. And he sits there and he meditates and he really feels it. He really feels the insane magic of being surrounded by the color green. He really feels it. He still starves because he's avoiding the problem that there is. He's avoiding that entire negative feeling that while he's meditating in that happiness about the plants, there's this huge ball of negativity beside him that's like, I'm starving, I'm hungry, this red alerts are going off. Because that's what feelings are, they're alerts. So that lion is feeling like shit because he hasn't eaten. That makes you angry. For a reason, that's your system saying, do something, do something, do something. I'm not pleased. It's calling for action. Okay, so you're in this negative state. And yet, somehow, this law of attraction thing says that while you're in this need state, you'll attract more of this need. So how do you ever get out of that? Where's the breaking point? That's where I do get stuck, because I do feel that I'm sort of reliving the same situation over and over again and closing myself off. Now, I wrote this sort of thing down where I thought, this is the cycle that because there's this thing in need, okay? Being in need in itself is a negative situation, and a situation where something has gone wrong, okay? When you're in need, that's not good. So when you're wait, because the thing is where I got fucked up is it was in my childhood, most because of my dad. I got punished for being in need. When I was in need, I just got a finger that said, well, you probably deserve it because you get what you deserve. You know what I mean? So that's I have this autopilot thing where me being in need is sort of a, well, guess that's what you deserve. So no use in crying about it. You don't have the right to cry about it. You don't have the right to cry about it. And so what happens to me when it gets really bad or when I get really, really broke, it's like I sort of stop breathing and I have no way of dealing with it. But also this powerlessness feeling, like I don't have any, no, I don't know what to do with it. And then it gives me this numb feeling. But this feeling is always kind of there, like in more or less, because I know the problem is still there. I can't ignore it, and I've tried. And somehow that makes it worse, because it's like I keep living in that world where money's not important, so that's what I keep getting. Money's not important, it shouldn't matter, so I just keep living in a world where money shouldn't be important, it shouldn't matter, and I keep getting a million examples where I don't need money to get what I want, which is kind of great, but still doesn't give you the feeling of control, because it still keeps you weirdly, it still keeps me stuck, because I'm constantly needing to count on so many variable ways of things to come to me, and I can just never say I get that. I always have to sort of manipulate the energies to um, wait, we're getting off topic here because the problem is need. So for me is this deep down is this wrong, pathetic. It's this pathetic, but at the same time really painful feeling. And it's a feeling of being punished for me. So I feel like I'm punished, and it's like this shame and anger at the same time. Powerlessness, and it calls, when you're in the need, always calls for a situation of reflection, because you have to. You're like, uh-oh, red alerts are going on. What's going on? We have a deficit of something. We really are in need. And again, need doesn't mean that you are choosing. Need means that you have to. There's no choosing, and you don't choose to be hungry. No, you have to be hungry because you have to eat, because otherwise everything stops. It's a necessity. But instead of this, it becomes this introverted thing where I look at myself, like it calls for, like, well, look at yourself first. So I'm in need, I'm hungry, and I'm this lion. And then what I was taught was, well, look at yourself. Like, you're the problem. So I'm a bad lion. That's where I go or something. And then, and I feel like I don't have the right to be pissed off. So I'm an hungry lion, and that pisses me off. And I go into this self battle where I feel like I can't be mad because I have no right to be mad, because I put myself in this situation. And that's why I deserve it. I deserve to be in need. It's like I can't. I can't get out. It's catch-22. I can't get out of it because I deserve to be in need, and I'm in need because I deserve it. Like, there's no. And that's where I get depressed always, because it's like and that's where it becomes bad, because I'm already in need in the first place, or you're already in need in this cycle in the first place, which already makes you weak. It gives you, like, it lowers your functioning, your focus, and there's no room for investments, and you get this vicious cycle of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you don't count on being in need, but you brace for it because you've had to so many times, so you don't expect. That's where the law of attraction or whatever gets really hard, because you want to expect the other to happen, but at the same time you're defending against something that is happening. So there is a problem that is happening, and you're protecting against yourself that, and at that point it has no purpose to be talking about the law of attraction, okay? Because you're in the action of fighting something, which means your focus should be there. Your focus should not be on what am I attracting, like how is this feeling I am having correct or not, okay? So I think my advice to myself and to anybody who finds himself in the same sort of weird conundrum, when you're actual feeling negative emotion, stop any self-criticism of that and just go with it, because you have to see it as you're in the defense of something. You're in the fight. You are not in the state of, let me look at if those emotions are valid and how I can shift my perspective so I can look at things from a better side. Because if somebody's coming at you with a fist and you have to defend yourself, it doesn't serve you to be thinking, how can I look at this fight to see that this is actual serving me? How can I look at this that me attacking me could actually be a blessing in disguise, and I'm so lucky. You know what I mean? And that's really where I'm stuck. So it's like, how do I get out of a feeling of being in actual pain and need and powerlessness? um, I mean, how do I shift that to, because I can feel the abundance of things. I can feel very blessed and happy with a lot of things and see the perspectives, but the, that one problem of sort of being always in debt, or and some emotional deficits that I have, it's like it's built into the program. And I have no examples or something to it's very weird. It's like I almost have to find a way to completely ignore that, but emotionally as well, to shift that. And it's weird because at the same time I really do believe in all these things, because I've seen it do so many miraculous things to me, and I see it work on so many levels, because that it has always also taught me that, like, that this financial problem that burdened me, it was such a huge part of my life, or it was such a huge part of what ruled my happiness. And by focusing on all the places where I do feel joy, or I'm doing good, it kind of made life, like, suddenly it's 100 layers, and the financial aspect is only one layer that determines my emotional well-being or my validation or something like this, you know. So I do find that it has taken away the, like slowly I've because I started out years ago with saying, like, I wish I had money to do this and this and this, and wanting money is good. But slowly all those things have been crossed off my list, because without money I've managed to do it anyway. And I managed to, like, get kind of the phone I wanted, and did get that new laptop, and did starting doing those things, or did do these and these small things without actually, or did make a small trip, you know. It was hard, and I had to then be in more debt, but you figured it out, and I made the trip, and things happened, and I made things work, and I slowly had all these examples of how I got all these things that I wanted, and that the conditional thing of needing the money first was not necessary. But I hated that at the same time, because I didn't want to. It wasn't like I don't want to have examples why it's okay to not to be in this deficit. You know? It's like the universe was doing the same as my dad always did. Like, see, you should just be happy and grateful, and you have no right to complain about that problem that I caused. It's very confusing for me. So I hope I confused somebody too. Yeah, share your thoughts or ideas. Let's pull one card, because I want to do that. It's always a good thing to do for myself. I already have it. Yeah. Okay. So pull this card. The World. Which is what, for me, the money represents, is like, I feel like I'm locked in here. I'm locked in this room where I've tried all things to make it interesting. I'm just locked in. Like, the world, I'm locked out from the world. That's how it always felt like to me, like, all my life. I can't do what I want. I have to manage. And I got really, really, really good at that. But too good that it doesn't serve me anymore, you know? I'm like so proud of how well I am, despite my conditions, that I see that like, that's where I'm attracting the same thing or something. I feel it. It's like my pride, or somehow who I am is tied into it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm making this so negative. It's a positive card, but for me, it's always been like, yeah, the world. This is a card. When I pull it, I don't believe it. It's like when I pull the world for me, which I rarely do. It's like I don't even believe it. I see it as symbolically. Like, oh yeah, the world will be opening up. Sure. And I really have trouble imagining or dreaming about really positive things because after a while it becomes very painful because I've dreamt about it all my life and then I had to learn over and over again how it's not important, it shouldn't be important and it shouldn't determine your happiness. And all this positive thinking hey, it made me a very positive thinker and it helped me a lot. But at the same time, this anger that like, how can this one situation not fucking change is too much, you know? And also I hate that I do the same thing that the people around me did, is where I ignore the situation. Where I'm saying, yeah, I'm actually doing really bad and then I'm depressed and I've tried to like, thought about suicide. Oh, it's that bad, huh? Yeah, it's that bad. But next week, everybody ignores it again. And people, it's like they want you to do something drastic. But then when you do that, so it's this avoidance. And when people around you start copying that, it becomes a nightmare. Because they just lock you in and they smile at you. Well, the world. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking. It's 32. Damn, that's not a good number. I keep looking at the hourglass, like the time, waiting. All this waiting. I hate it. I used to have this globe in my room. It gave a light. I like that. Hey, but I've led a lucky life. I've traveled already. I'm not saying that I'm in that a horrible situation, but you know, the being stuck, the not always being in the shadow of this one thing is just becomes a very dark thing and becomes a condemning thing because you keep doing it to yourself in the end. And that's where I get really stuck because, and I think a lot of us do, and where the law of attraction becomes this sort of mind fuck beyond belief. So I hope this helps somebody. 33, that's a better number, so I'm going to stop it there. So in 3, 2, 1, bye.